going on, everyone? I'm back. It's Monday. You know what that means? That means it's the day where you all share your responses to my question to each of you. And I'm always excited to see what people have to say, but this particular week was especially fun to read the responses that started coming in. See, the question I gave to you was, what was the most thoughtful or your favorite gift that you've received in regards to sports cards in your whole life? And some people, their responses were very recent, and some were back 30, 40, 50 years ago. There are some really cool stories that people shared, and I'm excited to share them with you. There's a couple in particular that really got me. Now, one of the things that inspired this is the fact that the card community is so giving. It's so thoughtful. I mean, you see videos, you see times where kids are at shows and dealers are giving kids things, or you see different videos of gifts that people have received. And, you know, it's fun to give gifts. It's fun to give people a birthday present, for example, and see their excitement when they get it. And that's really where this all came from. And you all have been so generous with me, so overwhelmingly generous with me, that it made me wonder, well, I've shared with all of you some of my excitement of different gifts that I've received with cards. So what are some of your experiences that mean a lot to you? Now, with that said, I continue to receive some awesome stuff from you all. So I quickly wanted to show you some stuff that I've received. Now, first off, I think it's pronounced Erkki. I'm not 100%. E-R-K-K-I. Very cool name, by the way. He collects Ken Griffey Jr. cards where Ken Griffey Jr.'s hat is on backwards. And he's like, I wanted to send you one. So that's a very cool idea for a collection. And that's a very cool card. And then he said he has a former engineering student at UCLA who has become a professional soccer player, a female professional soccer player. And that is this young lady right here. So that was a super thoughtful gift. Really appreciate that. And then Ed sent me several really cool things. Look at this. So he's got a Clemens like medallion card from his strikeout record. And then my guy Matt Manning sent me a cool Matt Manning rookie card. And then some old Clemens cards. Look at this classic Clemens, very cool card. This 88 Fleer card. Obviously some sort of highlight card. Very, very cool. Fleer Superstars, it says on the back. By the way, every card you guys all have sent me, I'm putting in a binder, which is super cool because I go through it and it's all stuff that you all have given me. At some point, I'll share that. And every note, letter that I've gotten from anybody has also goes into a little box that I keep all those in. Some of the things that you guys say to me are so kind. You got this cool Clemens card. It's like a throwback to like the 63 top set, right? It's got that kind of style. Here's a Clemens card as a Blue Jay. And then look at this, some cool Greg Nettles cards. That's a really cool card. And then a Greg Nettles kind of Legends card. And then a Greg Nettles coaching card. Greg Nettles helps out at the Yankees spring training, working with infielders, specifically third baseman. I know when Alex Rodriguez signed with the Yankees, he came out and spent a lot of time working with Alex because he went from shortstop to third base. So that's actually the year that I personally met and talked to Greg Nettles a little bit. Then this very cool Joe Montana card. Love Joe Montana. Joe Montana's the best. Another cool Montana card. These are all from Ed. So thoughtful. He's like, yeah, I don't need anything back. I just wanted to send you these because I thought you'd enjoy them and I appreciate your channel. I'm like, how sweet is it to not only send me a bunch of cards, but spend the money to send them to me? And then this very cool Manning card. Look at that. That thing's beautiful. Ed, thank you so much for that. And then my guy Maple. Now check this out. Maple sent me a postcard from his college. Maple goes to Princeton, guys. Princeton. We've got Ivy Leaguers that are watching the midlife community. Part of the midlife community are economics majors at Princeton, the Ivy League representing. Appreciate the postcard. I actually got to visit the Princeton campus once. That thing is gorgeous. That is an absolutely beautiful campus. And then Jake and RJ, you guys probably recognize Jake and RJ from Father-Son Vintage Cards. They also are very active on Whatnot. They do a lot of selling and buying on Whatnot. And they sent me a couple of very cool things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and show you what they sent me. This is pretty cool. Let's check this out real quick. All right, so my guys over at Father-Son Vintage Cards, Jake and RJ, they got such a cool card, double autographed and numbered out of 100. Man, put that one somewhere safe. When Jake hits the big time, that will be worth a fortune. And then they got me, how cool is this? A Greg Nettles photo signed by Greg Nettles. Now that is very cool, super thoughtful from those guys. Thank you guys so much for that. But then what else did they get me? In addition to the Nettles autograph picture, they got me a pack of cards. So I think we got to rip into these, don't we? 1989 Topps. Now, I opened a lot of these as a kid. Go ahead and open these up, see what we get, and see what kind of condition the gum is in. And there it is. We got to eat it, right? Crunchy. Very crunchy. Doesn't taste that great, but... All right, so here we go. Let's go through Kevin Mitchell. That was a big card at the time, probably, right? Well, it's not like it's his rookie, but he was having good seasons right around then. See, I'm trying to think what would be a big card. Wasn't there a big Ricky Jordan in these packs when I was a kid? A Mattingly would be cool. You know, at the time I was probably a Clemens would have been cool for me. Look at this. Oh, Bud Black. Ken Phelps. Frank Viola, he had a pretty good year with the Red Sox. He was like a Cy Young candidate, wasn't he? Look at these guys. These are Baker Diaz. Now, some of these names are really ringing a bell, and some of them not so much. Man, it's been a minute since I've opened a pack. 1989 Topps, I mean, that was like right in the sweet spot. I was about my third year or so collecting. That was fun. The gum probably wasn't the smartest idea to try to chew that gum. It chewed up like a... it literally disintegrated. You could hear me crunching it, but it disintegrated. There was like nothing. That was wild. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at your stories of some of your favorite memories of gifts that you've received with cards. My Little League coach gave me a 1959 Mickey Mantle when I was 12 years old in 1982. I had it signed by Mr. Mantle at a local store's grand opening in 1984 when I was 14. I'm 54 now, and it is the card that I will never part with. Here's a picture of my autograph card. The next picture is me standing in front of Mr. Mantle holding the card and the ball I had just signed in my hands. This card and that ball hold so many memories for me. I am transported back to standing in front of a baseball immortal, heart pounding, palm sweating, handing him that card and ball. So how cool is that? He's got the 59 Tops Mickey Mantle autographed, and the card was given to him by his Little League coach when he was 12. And he met Mantle when he was 14. And in that picture, it's so cool because in the background, you can literally see that it's like a department store, like a like a Sears or something. You can see the bikes hanging in the background. And there's so many places I could go with this response. In fact, he emailed me this and emailed me the pictures, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a great story. How young he was there with Mantle signing in the background, and Mantle's all dressed up in a suit. I mean, that is such a sign of the times, everything about it. And, it's interesting because it's like, I've coached a lot. I've coached a lot of Little League. I coached a lot of youth soccer. I coached middle school sports. I coached high school sports. I just finished coaching Lucy's soccer team, this season. I helped out as a coach, and, they ended up losing in the section semifinal. Lucy had a great season. But the impact that you make on people when you're coaching and involved in their lives, it's so important to have mentors in life and to do that as a coach. And the fact that this particular coach gave, him this card that is obviously cherished. And you can tell, that he didn't just say, this is given to me by somebody I know. It was from my Little League coach. Like, that makes it so much more special. And, there are gifts that are absolutely priceless. There are gifts that it doesn't matter what happens in life, there's no way we would ever part with it. And to have the picture of this event, to have the picture of the card, I mean, that is such a great story. And getting to see the picture of it is just amazing. When you give gifts to people, it sometimes touches them in a way that you don't even ever realize. I would just throw this out there because, we don't know how much time we have with people. If somebody gave you a cool gift, a special gift, a meaningful gift, I would just encourage you, reach out to the person that gave it to you and just say, you gave me this item, or you gave me this note, or you wrote me this letter, and it really meant a lot to me. And here's why it meant a lot to me. Share it with the person, especially if it was years and years and years ago. It's easy to tell somebody today for a gift that they gave you today, hey, that's really cool. I really like this autograph you gave me. I really like this card you gave me. Just like I did a minute ago with the gifts that I was given, like, it is very special. But if there was something that happened years ago and it just kind of touched you, I would encourage you, let that person know. If you still have a way to contact that person, let them know what it meant. Because the fact that it made an impact on you, and you could share that with them if they're still with us, is something that will mean more to them than I think you realize. Let's take a look at our next one. I grew up in the Bronx until I was 10 years old. From 1978 to 1988, it's no surprise I practically grew up in pinstripes. My dad, a successful dry cleaner for over 40 years, did the dry cleaning for a well-known gentleman who worked and had his office at Yankee Stadium. One day, my dad came home and handed my brother and I a bag. Inside the bag was a 1987 New York Yankees yearbook, a signed program from Billy Martin, and a stack of 5x7 black and white individually autographed photos of the 1987 Yankees. Our faces lit up because we could not believe it. Here we are, in our hands, autographed pictures of Lou Piniella, Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield, Willie Randolph, Tommy John, Ricky Henderson, and the list went on. My dad passed away 15 years ago, suddenly at 55 years old. I will never, ever forget the excitement and joy he brought me and my brother that day. To answer your question, the best baseball card gift ever received was when I was 11 or 12. My parents gifted me a 1972 Hank Aaron Topps with an autographed Hank Aaron baseball. Hank's ex-wife worked at the same school as my mother, and my mom knew I liked him. So she asked Miss Aaron, and apparently she asked her ex-husband, and he graciously autographed a ball for me. And they gave it to me with my first Hank Aaron card. It would be a low-grade crease, but obviously I didn't care. That was the first big card they gave me, and I still have it almost 40 years later, along with the indelible memories that have fostered my love of baseball card collecting. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I hope to someday pass them on to my grandkids.
The great thing about those two responses is you could feel the excitement that they still have of something that happened decades ago. It happened decades ago, and it still is meaningful to them. They still vividly remember the moment. I mean, how many things do we remember from 40 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago where we still can see it in our mind? We can still experience it. And with both of these comments, you could tell that they still remember the moment that happened. Now, that's a special gift. And neither one of these gifts were probably overly expensive for their parents. Both cases, their parents that gave it. Obviously with Steve, it was his dad. And the other, it was mom and dad. And even largely mom, right? Because mom worked with Hank Aaron's ex. And it's just so cool that it's still such a vivid memory. Like, I think back to certain events in life, you go, I remember when this happened. Like, I remember where I was on 9/11, right? I remember where I was when I found out that Princess Diana died. I think a lot of people remember certain events like that. Now, the generation before me remembers where they were when, they found out about JFK's assassination. I remember where I was when I found out about the Challenger shuttle, right? There are certain things we just remember so vividly, and they impact you. And the things that you remember vividly for a reason. And if it's a gift that you received, that's pretty cool. And in both cases here, this was a gift from their parents. Now, I don't know if in the case with the Hank Aaron stuff, if mom and dad are still with us, right? But with Steve, we know his dad isn't, as he mentions in the comment. And it's like a legacy that lives on when you receive a gift from somebody that was so important to you and so special to you. The item is no longer just about the item, right? It's about where the item came from. And it's a memory from that person. And that's part of the story of cards, isn't it? Isn't part of the story of collecting cards not just having the card? It's where the card came from. It's where the autograph came from. It's who did you buy it from? And that's why sometimes it's more special, at least it is for me, buying the card in person. Because when you buy the card at a show, or you buy the card from another collector, or you buy the card through, somebody that you met along the way, you remember the whole process. And sometimes when I get in like a little buying frenzy, like I've been in recently, I may not even remember what I paid for a particular card or who the person is that sold it. That's the one thing about buying cards online and like through eBay that we miss out on a little bit is the story. I can tell you I can vividly tell you where a lot of my kid Grail cards from 1989, 1990, 1991, who I bought them from. And these are cards that are not expensive cards. They're not worth a lot of money, but I remember the story of how I obtained them. Part of what we love about cards is not just having a cool card. It's the hunt of finding it. It's the hunt of it being the right one. It's the negotiation of coming to an agreement on a price that works for you and for the seller. It's a whole story. And that's what gifts are too. You can see in the vivid details that are shared in these comments the story of the gift. It's not just about the card. It's about the story of how they received it and who they received it from. That's what makes cards special, is the story along with obtaining this thing that you longed for and wanted for so long.
When I was 11, my parents gave me a 1968 Nolan Ryan rookie card for my birthday. I think they paid about $20 for it. It wasn't something I asked for, but they knew I loved Nolan Ryan, and I knew the $20 was a lot for a family that struggled financially. It's over 40 years later, and both my parents have passed, but I always think about them when I look at that card. Beckett has no idea how valuable it really is. My most generous and thoughtful sports card gift was from my parents for my 40th birthday. They gave me my 68 Ryan. It's something I always wanted as a kid, and it's the card that opened the floodgates, getting me back into collecting.
Now, the thing I love about these two comments is they're kind of the opposite. It's the same card. It's the 1968 Nolan Ryan rookie card. One of them was received as a kid when the card was, 10 or 20 bucks. And one of them was received as a grown adult when it was, I'm guessing, quite expensive. If you've seen Darren from Return to Collecting's rookie card, it is an SGC9 and it looks perfect. And I have a feeling it was not a cheap purchase. It wasn't a $20 purchase like the other one, but the same card has so many memories. And one of the memories is, again, who it came from. In both cases, came from the person's parents. One, when it was expensive, right? Expensive long, long time ago, and one when it was expensive more recently. But in both cases, you could tell that the fact that it was given from the parents was important. But also, in both cases, it was a card that they both mentioned that they had always wanted. It was like the card. Now, one of the things I like about the first one is how he acknowledges that amount of money was a financial, that was a lot of money in their financial situation. And to acknowledge that when you receive, when we're kids, how many of us were in tune with our parents and our family and our household's financial situation? To acknowledge that it must have been a sacrifice to give this card that was $20 is a major acknowledgement. That's part of, you could tell that's part of why it's special to him. Because he's like, my family didn't have $20 to spend on a baseball card, but they did. And that is part of what made it special. Part of sometimes when you receive a gift is what the other person is giving up to give you the gift. It makes the gift more special. And with Darren, and you've probably heard, because I've talked to Darren about this particular gift a couple of times on some videos when when he and I have interacted, is that card is what launched Darren back into collecting. I mean, his channel is called Return to Collecting. And if you were to point to one instance or one card that got him back into collecting, it's when his parents gave him that card, and he's talked about it. I mean, whether the card was given to you decades ago or whether the card was given to you just a couple of years ago, the same card from, in both cases, their parents, is so important and special. And the memory, again, of who it came from makes it all that much more special. Super, super cool. Both cases, same card, decades apart. Thousands of dollars different in price, but just as important to each. So cool.
I'm a big fan of the Bellingham Mariner Griffey. Last Christmas, my brother bought me PSA 8s of all of the Griffey Jr. rookie cards, minus the Upper Deck. This year, he got me an Upper Deck Griffey Jr. rookie card, PSA 7. I had an opportunity to buy the Upper Deck Griffey when I was a kid for $10, but that was my whole budget for the show I was attending. Having my brother gift me the entire Griffey rookie card run is meaningful because the cards transport me right back to my youth and remind me of my friendship and love for my brother. I have been a big vintage collector for decades, and since my father named me after Mickey Mantle, I have collected his cards in particular. I have all the base cards from 1953 on in low to mid-grade, but since the big two will likely forever elude me due to price, my grail card to get someday was the 52 Bowman, a card I always loved. For my 50th birthday, my wife, mother, siblings, and kids all got together and surprised me with a 1952 Bowman Mickey Mantle and a PSA 4. I will never sell that card. It will go to my kids someday. To answer this week's question, I have two. I was an ecstatic 11-year-old in 1988 when my parents bought me my favorite player at the time, Jose Canseco's 86 Donruss. I was the envy of all my friends. Second, last year, a client I helped sell their home went out of his way to find my wife online and ask her some things that I like. My wife told them the 49ers and cards. Then, in the mail, I receive a 1988 Joe Montana PSA 10. Not the biggest card, but that meant the world to me. This week's question was an easy one for me. My boys bought me a Thurman Munson rookie card one year for Christmas. I love that gift, and my boys will enjoy it when it passes on to them. Thurman was unlike what Reggie said, the straw that stirred the drink. A great player, a guy you wanted in your foxhole, and a really good guy and family man. He lost his life trying to be a great father and flying back and forth to his home. A great Yankee that helped bring the Yankees out of the doldrums in the late 60s and early 70s.
Now, the cool thing about these particular last few comments that I loved is the variety of people who the cards came from. Whether it came from a client or your children or your wife and your siblings and other family members combined, or from your brother. Again, in every single case, it wasn't just about the card that they were given. I mean, look, if you look back at the whole video, this whole video, in every single case, it's not just the card that they received and why they liked the card, but it was who gave it to them. Who gave them the card was a lot of what made it special, right? Whether it was the Little League coach whether it was mom and dad, whether it was dad who's no longer with us. I mean, who gave the gift is a huge part of what makes the gift special. I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. You never know what kind of gift you give somebody, what it will do for them, how it will make them feel. I would encourage us all to use this hobby that we really like. I mean, we all love the hobby, or else we wouldn't probably be watching me talk about it. But we love the hobby, and share it with somebody. Share it with somebody, because you might be surprised that you sharing your love of this hobby will not just make it meaningful to them, but it might make the gift a little bit more special. See, anybody could go through a dollar box and find a card and give it to somebody. But if the person says, hey, I saw this card at this event and it made me think of you because of this, and I want you to have it because of this reason. It's not the card. It's not the value of the card. I mean, even when I look at this card that I just shared with you, was given to me, right? It's not even that I've ever heard of this person. It's that this player was that person's former student, and they want to share that with me, and that's special to them. That makes it special to me. Now, if I was going through a dollar box or a $2 box or a $5 box or a $10 box or a 50-cent box, I probably wouldn't pull out this card. But it's special to me because of who gave it to me. Isn't that really what giving is all about? It's about who gave the gift to us and why they gave it to us and why it was special for them and why they chose us as the person to give it to. Go give a card to a friend or a family member or a colleague that has meaning and share with them what the meaning is. I think that you'll be surprised by how much they appreciate it. Now, for this coming week, yesterday I posted a video with my buddy Darren, who I even mentioned in this, this video today, who's become a good friend of mine. I really like Darren a lot. And I posted a video yesterday of a conversation I had with Darren, and the conversation was all about quality versus quantity. Not just, a PSA 9 versus a PSA 6. But it could be. It might be the rookie card instead of the fifth year card. Would you rather have a third, fourth, and fifth year card or a rookie card? Would you rather have a PSA 8 or SGC 8 or a high conditioned example of the card? Or would you rather have 3 cards that are in lower condition? This is not a question with a right or a wrong answer. And I've had times in my life I was about quality. I've had times in my life I was about quantity. It's constantly changing. So my question to each of you for this coming week is, when it comes to your collecting, quality versus quantity, what do you think? What's the way you collect? Not what's the right way to collect versus the wrong way to collect. If there's anything about my channel, if there's anything about what I do that I want to make sure to get across, is I don't think that I have all the answers. And I don't think that what I do is necessarily the right way, the best way, the only way. I want people's input on this. How do you collect? Are you about quality or are you about quantity? And why? Whether it be high grade versus low grade, whether it be rare card versus not rare card, whether it be rookie card versus last year card. How do you collect? Why do you collect that way? What do you think is the way to do it. And again, none of us have the answer, but we all have an opinion. And that's what I want to hear today. Share your opinion, because I look forward to sharing your thoughts with everybody next week as we continue to talk about the unanswerable question, because there is not an answer. There's just a series of opinions from all of us as collectors.